Time has expired. Mr. Petri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed in your prepared testimony that everyone, except I think Dr. Baum, who was more talking about grant programs, endorsed making some form of income-based repayment the automatic or sole repayment option for federal student loans. And I'd really like to ask each of you, and Dr. Baum, if you'd care to comment on it as well, if you could elaborate on your thinking regarding the potential benefits of making income-based automatic in terms of simplification and other goals that we're pursuing in the reauthorization. Now, who would like to start?
I'll start since I didn't say anything about it. I totally support that proposal. It's too complicated for students. Not enough people are participating in the program, and making it the default option would make more students be able to benefit from it. But we do need to make the kinds of revisions that Mr. Delisle has proposed in order to make this an efficient program. And many of those provisions are in the bill that you have proposed about income-based repayment.
Sure. I mean, I think that for students who are trying to figure out their options when they leave school, having a simple, streamlined process can be huge and can be very helpful. I mean, students, we were actually down in Miami last week doing roundtables with students and talking about the kinds of information that they need and what they know about different programs. And none of the students we talked to had actually heard of income-based repayment. And so, that's a problem, right? But this is a program that can be very helpful to a lot of students, and we need to make sure that we're providing this policy in a way that students know that it's there for them so they can understand what types of risk they may be taking on and really encourage them to go to school and take out loans when they need to. And then on the back end, when they might be struggling to repay those loans, we do face a high default rate for student loans, and we want to make sure that we can cut into that by doing things like streamlining this process.
So I hear a lot of people say, when we talk about our student loan system in the United States, they point to other countries like the UK or Australia that have income-based repayment programs, and then they say, why don't we have something like that? We do. We do have something exactly like that. It's just not automatic. So I think when people ask that question, what they're saying is, why don't we just make it automatic then, if we already have it? And so what we've done is I mentioned in my spoken testimony about the Department of Education automatically enrolling people in the 10-year standard repayment, which is basically your highest monthly payment. And then we sort of let them maybe find their way to the more generous, more beneficial options in the loan program. But if they're there, why not just start people in those programs to begin with, and why not just make that the only program, especially since it provides people who need the most help with it automatically. Now, there are people using the income-based repayment program. The people who figured this out, that this is available, are graduate students. The average outstanding loan balance in income-based repayment right now is about $57,000. Now, we heard at the beginning the average amount of debt that an undergraduate leaves with is around $25,000, and in fact, the federal government caps how much an undergraduate can borrow well below $57,000. So what we've got is we've got a program here where the graduate students have figured it out, and the people who really need the help, the undergrads, aren't necessarily using the program.
Mr. Petri, I want to echo what my group has said, and again what I said to the Chairman, that there's a remarkable amount of consensus in the reform community for the proposals that, frankly, you were an early leader on, and so I commend you for that. I'm actually going to respond that one of the reasons for the income-based repayment and the simplification and the default option we talk about is to put student success at the center of what we do. We see there's some really good data out of Wisconsin looking at individual students, and at least 20% of Pell Grant students fail to even take a single loan, and up to half of students do not take the amount they're eligible for. What does that mean? They're much less likely to go full-time. They're much less likely in that first year to make the progress they need to make that we know is associated with success. Some of them are much less likely to go to the more selective institutions we know they are likely to attend. That's that undermatching phenomenon you may have been reading about lately. So really understanding early, whether you're a traditional or non-traditional student, that this is a single loan repayment option and what your repayment terms will look like is, I think, a way to put student success at the center of our loan programs.
Thank you all. I just have 20 seconds left, so I just want to make one comment. It was touched on, I think, especially in Ms. Mishori's testimony, and that is where and how we, if we simplify the program, we focused the subsidies that, they're inevitably going to be subsidies of people who just can't repay their loans. And whether there's, and how we should be, if we should be providing subsidies also to higher income people and others because they're doing something that sounds good. But anyway, that's a discussion for another day. But if we have a pot of subsidies, we should have a rational discussion as to on what basis they should be given, rather than just have an automatic preference for some people who, when you analyze the situation, may not deserve it.
Gentleman's time has expired. Mr. Bishop.